So let's look at a sample implementation. First of all, we are going back to the store sales bar chart Java, which we implemented before. We now need to make a modification that when receiving a store name, we want to make it 20 char. If the incoming name is longer than 20, truncate to 20. If the incoming name is shorter than 20, then we need to append spaces to make it 20. So we want to check your skill set on the string length and the loop. Now, there is a string.repeat function, which will repeat certain characters. Or there is also a formatted printing that will limit the output to a certain length. But these are not what we are testing here. You must use concatenation inside the loop. This is the same case for other string operations. There are a lot of different string operation methods out there. But for us, the testing here is mostly just for concatenation for string and the loop. So let's look at the store sales bar chart Java that I created. I actually copied this over from my assignment, home assignment 5 sample answer. So it have a sales bar chart constructor, and which receives a string s name. The requirement is to make sure if the s name is greater than 20, then store name should be truncate, the truncation of s name with 20 characters. If s name is like Boston or New York, that's less than 20, then you need to append space to make it 20. Okay, apparently you can use some kind of a formatting method, but this is not what we are testing. So let's look at the requirement a little bit further. If we want to make it into a pseudocode, let me copy this over to make it pseudocode. So this one was, so basically if the incoming name is longer than 20, truncate to 20. If the incoming name is shorter than 20, append space to make it 20. So first of all, you can clearly see there is one condition missing. If I really implement this logic, then there is a condition that the incoming name is equals to 20. So you can either add just a store name equals to s name, because when s name, the incoming name is s name. Or you can actually remove this by defining longer than or equals to. Because s name, if s name's length is 20, then truncate the first 20 will still give you the same 20, right? So either way, that's fine. We will remove this. We will use this if-else-if loop instead. Okay, so let's add this. Else if s name shorter than 20. And how do you define longer than 20? It will be dot length, right? Dot get dot length greater than 20. Or I believe it's a method. S name dot less than 20. Then you will append space to make it work. Else store name equals to s name. So now let's see how do you append space to make it to 20. Let's use a quick example. If let's say it's a Boston, whose length is 6, then you will need to run 14 times 14 spaces behind. Yeah, right after Boston. And similarly for New York, if it's a New York, which is length equals to 8. So you need to add 12 spaces after Boston. So you can, after New York. So you will add, so in general, you will add 20 minus sname.length spaces, right? So this is how you identify, how you determine exactly how you should, how many spaces you should need to add, and how many. Like we said, if you are not sure about how to do certain things, perform certain tasks, use some simple example, go through that, and find the general rule. Which means. And what does that at 20 space mean if you need to achieve that using a for loop? So it will be for I equals to 1, and you run this for 20 minus, oops, 20 minus sales name and append space. All right, so this is how you go through the requirement and basically get what the logic is. Now let's copy this over. Copy this over with this else if. So the first thing first, if, and we can almost directly copy this over. Of course, with parentheses, I forgot the parentheses here, and get the notification that I make it wrong, and copy this truncate here. How do we do truncate? Now, store cells, the store name equals to sname. We need to do some truncate, and truncate is actually a very very popular, very commonly used functionality. So you would expect a regular string object should have something like this, something function to achieve. So the way you do, you find out which function to use, which method to use, is by right after the string name, press dot. Then you will have this help from Eclipse giving you all the functions available available to a string object, and you just need to go through all of them and see which one looks like, and then move your mouse over it, select it, read through the explanation. These are the Java docs that someone write. Actually, it's a same Java doc that you write. Use this /*. And I already know which one it is. But if in case you do not know, that's how you go do it. Go through one by one, find out which one. And it happens that this substring is what we are looking for. So you are looking at this substring. You can double click. But then what is the requirement? What's the argument for? The argument it says is begins at the specified begin index and extends to the character at index and index -1. Because we are truncating the first 20, so the first beginning always start with 0, and we should always end at 19. 0 to 19 is the first 20 characters. So beginning index will be 0, and the end index -1 is 19, which means end index is 20. That's how we should utilize this method. And if you cannot find anything in the object's master list, then the right thing to do is to run a Google query and search on what you can do to achieve your goal, like a Java string truncate, something like this. Now, else if let's add this here. So this is a for loop. Don't forget to add int I, and then use a curly brace. Append one space simply means let's add store equals to s name first. Then, because s name is less than 20, so we will add one space at a time. Now, finally, else. Store name equals to s name. So this is how you achieve this length setup. Now let's run this code, which you can see that everyone get a space padding. Now what if I change this to change the name? And the first one is Boston, then it should pad us Boston. And second one is New York. And third one, let's call it the Commonwealth. Okay, let's give it a really long one. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Capital C. Let's run. And we get the Commonwealth of something. All right. So this is how you could resolve this issue by modification, make it 20 chart.